Hello everybody, it is Ginas baking time. Today I am making Icelandic brownies. I made these a while ago and took them to a Christmas party. And so I thought I wanted to make them again. That was a few years ago. So what I have so far is Icelandic brownies. There's the recipe. But of course I will go through each part. So it calls for 3 cups of flour, 3 cups of flour, 1.5 cups of sugar, 3 teaspoons of baking powder, a teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 cup of dark cocoa, 1 1/3 sticks of melted butter, 2 eggs, 2/3 cup of milk, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 1/3 cup of dark chocolate, 1/3 cup of coffee, warmed coffee. I am using instant coffee. And 1/2 cup of Greek yogurt. Instead of the Greek yogurt, I am using sour cream. Because who doesn't like sour cream and stuff? So the first thing I'm going to do is I have my 3 cups of flour right here in a little container. And I am going to mix the 3 teaspoons of baking powder. And the teaspoon of cinnamon, and my 1/4 cup of dark cocoa, all together. And I have my handy dandy spoon, so I'm just going to use my spoon. And that you want to set aside until you get the wet ingredients done. And I'm still deciding on what I want to use for my dark chocolate. I do have some dark chocolate here that I have in one of my baking containers. So let's go ahead and set the dry ingredients on the side while I start with the wet. Of course, I'm going to put and then it says to cream the sugar. So 1.5 cups of sugar. The 2 teaspoons of vanilla. There's 1. And of course I use the lid, but you can use a regular measuring teaspoon. And to that we are going to put the eggs. 2 eggs, I already cracked them. And we're just going to mix it until that gets fluffy. Once that gets fluffy, then we'll add the rest of the wet ingredients. Okay, it looks pretty fluffy, so now I am going to add the butter and the milk and I'm going to stop it just for a minute because I have the dark chocolate mixing. And I was able to find myself some dark chocolate. It is 70% cocoa dark chocolate that I've had for a while. So let me see how it's going in the microwave. If you're going to melt the dark chocolate in the microwave, I put it on for 30 seconds. And then about 10-second intervals from there until it's all nice and melted. You can also use a double boiler, but there isn't very much in here, so I just use the microwave. And we're going to do the chocolate in the mixing bowl. And I want to get all that wonderful chocolate in the bowl. So I'll just scrape it. And I have these little handy dandy scrapers. And they work for little jobs that work really, really well. Okay, yum, yum, yum. And then I'm going to do the coffee. And I have a 1/3 cup measuring cup, and it calls for 1/3 cup of coffee. And it does say warmed. So this is warm. For the frosting, it is going to be cool, but we're just going to mix that in. And I have my bar pan all ready. And it's a no stick pan, so I'm not going to use that. And let's see here. Then we're going to put in the dry ingredients. A little at a time so it doesn't go over the mixer. And let's turn you here so you can see the mixer here. There's the mixer. And I'm going to use my little scraper to scrape the flour. A little at a time. And to the flour, I put the baking powder and the cinnamon. What I noticed is that this recipe does not take salt. It's slowly coming together here. And once you get it to where you think it won't go over anymore, you can just dump the rest in. And I'm really glad I have a dishwasher today to clean up all this stuff. So let me turn it off. Scrape the edges. This looks so good. And let it go just a little bit longer. And then I'm going to add the yogurt. But in this case, I'm using sour cream. I didn't look to see if sour cream would work, but hey. This is Ginas style. Okay, let me get my pan ready. And it does call for a coffee frosting. So I am going to make a frosting for it. And the frosting is 1 2/3 cup of powdered sugar, not white sugar, but powdered sugar. A 1/2 cup of butter melted. 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder, which I have right here, my Hershey's. 4 tablespoons of coffee, which is cooled down. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And it calls for coconut flakes, but I'm not going to do coconut flakes because I'm not in the mood for coconut today. And then I'm going to put it in the pan, put it in the oven for, and you're going to grease, it says a square pan, but I'm going to put it in my non-stick pan here. My pan. Yeah. And put it in for 30 to 45 minutes. Test it with a toothpick after 30 minutes to see if it is done. And let it cool down completely. And then I'll put the frosting on it. And then it says to cool it down and then have it with coffee or tea. So if you like coffee, these are definitely the brownies to make. And I'm just scraping off the paddle just so I don't lose any of the good stuff. Take it off my mixer. And you know, I'm gonna spray my pan just a little bit. I'll be right back. To grease your pan, you can just use a paper towel and butter. And look at how nice and chocolatey that looks. Oh, these bars are so good, especially if you don't drink coffee usually or like coffee. It just has that little hint of coffee. So you can still get the taste, but not all the caffeine. All right, my oven is at 350. I'm going to put it in for 30 to 40 minutes. I will check it after 30 minutes just to see if it is done. And with this pan, I am having to smear it in the bottom, just so it gets all into the 4 corners and gets even so that it'll bake evenly. I hope you have enjoyed this time with me today. I thank you so much. And as always, once I make the frosting, I will put the frosting on the cake and then show you the finished product after it is all cooled and ready to cut. All right, so this here is bad boy is ready to go in a 350-degree oven for 30 minutes, and I'll check it, and with the toothpick 40 minutes if it actually needs it. And thank you so much for being with me for Ginas Baking Time. I love doing this for you guys. As usual, I will put it on YouTube, and then the finished product I will put it on Facebook along with what it looks like completely finished with the frosting. All right, everybody, thank you for having a great day and being with me today, and I will talk to you soon.